We're back from Nashville. Robbie the Fire Bernstein is with me. How are you, sir?
Nashville was a blast. Cool club.
Nashville was great. We had done, we loved the Zanies in Chicago and Rosemont and stuff. And then everybody had always been saying, you got to go down to the one in Nashville. And they were not wrong. It was a good time had by all. And thank you to everybody who came out. We sold out all the shows down there. So that was fun. And doing the Bitcoin conference was interesting too. So anyway, I enjoyed that very much.
And I'm porching this weekend. So if you're out in California, Santa Barbara Friday night, Saturday in Agawanga, which is a little bit north of San Diego, and then Hawthorne, California on Sunday. Come hang out.
Very good, very good. And I will be I'm out at the Young Americans for Liberty, their big event down in Orlando.
Fancy lineup. I saw the card.
Yeah, Ron Paul, the great Ron Paul, is coming to speak there. I will be speaking on, I think I'm keynoting on Friday night, I believe. So if anybody is there, I think the thing's already sold out, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But they always fill that up, and it's always a good time. And then we got a lot more stuff coming up. We will be back at the end of August. We'll be back in Fort Worth and Dallas at Hyenas. We had a great time out there last year, so really looking forward to doing those again. Stamford, Connecticut, Casper, Wyoming, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Detroit, Kansas City, Philadelphia. We got a lot of dates coming up. ComicDaveSmith.com. Go over there for all the ticket links. And of course, right now, if you're listening, you know that you're on partoftheproblem.com. For everybody else, when this episode comes out, if you want to get the episodes streaming live, uncensored, ad-free, you can always get them at partoftheproblem.com. Plus, the Thursday episode that is only for supporting listeners at partoftheproblem.com. That's the only place you can see it. And that is really us, I would say, at our most uncensored, because it's only going up for our site. No one could kick me off of my site except the guy who runs my site. He could kick me off, and then I would just have no idea how to get back on. But I pay him. I don't think he's going to do that. So anyway, make sure, if you can, come over and support us at partoftheproblem.com. And thank you to everybody who already who is watching live right now. All right. So let's start off with something kind of weird. You know what's kind of weird, Rob? And I guess, look, weird is one of those terms that it's kind of in the eye of the beholder, right? Like, you might think something's really weird, someone else thinks it's totally normal. Someone might think something's totally normal, and you're like, no, that's weird. What I think is weird is the way every single person in corporate media says the exact same thing all the time about every single subject. I personally find that to be kind of weird. Let's go to this montage, which is going super viral. I know Elon Musk shared this, and I think Rogan shared it as well. So people have been talking about this, but it really is pretty amazing. Let's take a look at the clip.
Some of what he and his running mate are saying, well, it's just plain weird.
These guys are just weird. That's where they are.
As weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
Super weird idea from J.D. Vance.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's quite weird. They're just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
That stuff is weird. They come across weird, and then they start being weird. Yeah, they're weird.
Being a really weird.
He's such a weirdo.
Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate are weird. Deeply and profoundly weird.
They are weird.
These Republicans just being weird. It's just weird. It's really weird.
Republican weirdness goes even deeper.
He said a lot of things that are weird, a weird style that he brings, weird policies. Let's start with the weird thing, because it is a thing.
Just plain weird.
What was weird was talking about Diet Mountain Dew. Who drinks Diet Mountain Dew?
You ever seen the guy laugh? That seems very weird to me, that an adult can go through 6.5 years of being in the public eye. If he has laughed, it's at someone, not with someone. That is weird behavior.
Weird and cultish.
These are weird people on the other side.
He kind of doubled down on his weird ideas.
I think weird is probably generous.
Simply weird. These guys are just plain weird.
Vance as weird?
You know, as the campaign said, weird.
It really is just plain weird.
J.D. Vance, plain weird.
No, I mean, I don't know how else you could read it.
Weird. It is kind of weird.
We're not afraid of weird people.
The other side, they're just
just weird. Why are you being so weird?
Vance has done something more extreme, more weird.
No matter what kind of weird stuff they keep saying.
Trump and Vance are just weird, in addition to being dangerous to democracy.
That's the weird part that's the most engaging.
Whom he addressed as my beautiful Christians, which was super weird.
Weird tech bro, J.D. Vance.
He's a weird guy.
J.D. Vance, uneasy and sort of weird.
Frankly, for lack of a better word, that he's weird.
Sarcastic remarks that aren't even funny, and he kind of shows that he can't really deliver a one-liner.
So, Sam, weird is the word here in terms of initial impressions from Vance.
Weird is the word. It sure is. All right. So first of all, there's a lot actually to this. It's a kind of fascinating thing. Number one, I would just say that this is how the corporate media works and has always worked. That I've talked about many times, the message discipline is always a huge part of their dominance. Historically, this would they're still doing it, and I think it still works to some extent. Historically, it worked much more. And what happens is that if when you hear it like that, even if you were somebody who watched a fair amount of news, if it's not put in a montage like that, it's kind of difficult to pick out that everybody is using the exact same phraseology. You know what I mean? And it does have this, this is true, a kind of, even though it seems very shallow and simple, it is a deep understanding of psychological warfare, of propaganda, that you just kind of say the same thing over and over again in a very subtle way until the viewer almost feels like they organically thought of it in their head. You know what I mean? You're like, oh yeah, that guy is kind of weird. Where did that even come from? It's just kind of been placed in my head. But what's fascinating now is that you have the internet. And so these montages come out, and then it totally exposes that you're like, oh, you guys got marching orders. It is not mathematically, the odds are impossible that every single one of these people within the same 2-day period all decided to use the exact same phrase. Ivermectin, for example, is used for if you look it up, Rob, a few hundred different purposes across a few hundred different species. Yet everyone said horse dewormer. That's not the only use of ivermectin. Yet everyone picked that one. And then you realize it's oh yeah, no, the orders are kind of given. The talking points are assigned. Anyway, as many people have already picked up on, part of what's so funny about the Democrats jumping on weird, which look, I'm going to say something for the record here. I do think J.D. Vance is a little bit weird. There's something a little bit weird about that guy. But you guys have decided to be the party of freaks. So you can't really use the word weird anymore. Joe Biden's got dudes in dresses in the White House. Several of them, you don't get to call other people weird. You can either say that the opening to the Olympics was awesome, or you can say J.D. Vance is weird. But you can't I'm sorry, I can't listen to a man breastfeeding his baby going, that guy's a little weird. Just too much for me.
If we're celebrating diversity, isn't it against your entire culture to call someone out for being weird? That means that they're different. That should be highlighted. If anything, you guys should be celebrating how weird J.D. Vance is, who, by the way, is very weird. And I'm a little bit surprised by the pick because he's strikingly. Firstly, Kamala's weirder. The way that she laughs, that's plenty weird.
That's pretty weird.
But in this case, I think even on Run Your Mouth, I call J.D. Vance weird. Usually when you see these montages, it's something I don't agree with. And obviously, as you said, this is an example where they found something and they're like, all right, let's keep repeating it so that everyone's aware of it. This is one of the few instances where it's going to be sticky and it will stick because Vance is a weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's right. It might be someone. Although I will say the other aspect to it is that on the internet, they are just getting destroyed because it's constantly oh, you think that's weird? Well, here's what you guys are. You know what I mean? Like, and then just like some picture of the weirdest woke shit that Democrats have been pushing. So that's where I think this actually might backfire. It will be effective on some people, I'm sure. You know, for people who know, like I used to do a lot of shows on Fox News. I mean, a mix. There's a mix of several factors. So like when I first got on TV, it was Kennedy. Kennedy was the first one, and Red Eye. When Tom Shalhoub was the host over there, technically Tom Shalhoub booked me first, but Kennedy put me on TV first. Like Red Eye was like booked me, but it was like 3 weeks out, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to be on TV for the first time, and then like 2 days later, Kennedy like booked me on her show, and then I became like a regular on both of those shows. And then Greg Gutfeld had his show and he started using me. So I do those shows. And then, then I started doing like random other shows on Fox News here or there. But for many years, that was like, I became like a regular. Like I was on every week on Red Eye and every week on Kennedy. And that was, then I got the contract at CNN, and then I wasn't allowed to do Fox News anymore while I was getting checks from Turner. And then when they didn't, for some reason, they didn't re-sign my contract. And then I started going back there. And anyway, Red Eye ended up getting canceled. Then they canceled Kennedy's show. I should go back and do Greg Gutfeld's show again, but things just kind of changed to like, I don't live in the city anymore. And, Greg Gutfeld does have a huge audience, but it's not kind of like what it used to be when I didn't have a following or any audience. And so it was like, oh yeah, you got to get on whenever you can. Whereas now it's just, all the big shows are like doing Pierce Morgan or something like that is like way bigger than most things on cable news. Excuse me. Anyway, I met, so like what it always used to be, almost always the format was that they have what their title will usually be Democratic strategist or Republican strategist or something like that. But they got these people who just like do TV hits all day long. Like they work as a contributor for Fox News, and you'll just see them. They'll be a guest on 9 shows in a day. They'll come in and just do panels all day long. That was never me. I would just come on and do like a show. I was a contributor for SE Cup, but I was never at Fox. But so anyway, so I met. If you ever watch the shows, Rob, I'm sure you've seen some of the panels that I've been on. It'd always just be like, okay, a Democrat giving their talking points, and then a Republican giving their talking points, and then me just like destroying them. Because not because like I'm so great, just because like they speak in talking points and I don't, and I'd just be talking, like making a point. So there was this woman, I want to say her name was Julie. I can't remember her name, but anyway, she was a Democratic strategist, and I did a whole bunch of panels with her while she was there, and she would always just, it was always talking points, and then she got one of her emails got leaked in one of the WikiLeaks dumps, and I believe it was her. She was emailing Donna Brazile, who at the time was the head of the DNC, and she was kind of like complaining that she wasn't moving up the ranks more, and she says in her thing, she was like, I'm out here on Fox News pushing all of our talking points. Yikes. And I remember it's like I saw her after that came out, and I kind of like, I forget exactly how I brought it up, but I kind of brought it up, like without being like aggressive about it. But and she told me straight up that she goes, every morning they get their email with like, this is the talking points. It'll be, and that's what they're about. They're about message discipline, particularly the Democrats. I'm sure it's true with Republicans too. This was the only like personal example where I confirmed it with somebody who was like, it's like, I saw her email of what she was saying. And then she was like, yeah. And so every morning, it would be whatever it is, whether it's, it's something like the Republicans want to take away reproductive rights for women. That's what we're stressing today, And so clearly this is what it is. Like the email blast went out, and it was like, we're saying JD Vance is weird. That's what we're doing here. And then you watch everybody just like in unison all of them say the exact same thing. So if when you see examples like this, that's what it is. It's that they all get marching orders on what to say.